I think the painting from Edvard Munch expresses it best. It was shock, horror, disbelief, and yet, given what's happened around the world, not that surprising in retrospect, but nobody expected it. There is a saying amongst lawyers that you should never ask a question to which you do not already know the answer to. People should have known the answer to this question before it was asked of the British people. Somewhat. It clarified some things I've thought about England. I was quite confused in the fact that people seem to be voting without being really aware of what they were voting for, and it's much more of a universal society now than I remember it when I lived here for so long. One of the reasons I was more interested than most is, as I live in California and I wasn't able to vote and help make the decision, this country and what it means is still very dear to my heart. I have family still living here. It still sets the standard in many ways for what the world is and becoming. Had I been here and had I voted, I don't think there's much question to which side I would have fallen. I'm surprised at the provincialism that was expressed, the lack of universal embracement of one giant continent. But had I voted, I would have voted Remain without question. Disbelief, shock, horror, but one word is, I think, disbelief that all that work of uniting Europe is seemingly starting to fall apart. So disbelief would be my one word. I believe that Brexit has already impacted my life by how I perceive Europe. Recently I did the Camino in Portugal and Spain, and it was a wonderful thing to cross the border between two European countries, so different from my first experiences, that I just kept walking back and forward across the bridge, across the river, and just unimpaired. It was as though I were one, and I now feel that's all changing. Not a question of peace has ended, but it's just not a healthy thing. I just cannot understand why anybody would want to break up that union. For what purpose? For what reason? For what advantage? I just don't understand it. To me it makes no sense, but it's impacted my life in the way I see Britain becoming once again an island as opposed to part of a greater union. I'm reminded of the wonderful newspaper headline from the 20s that read, heavy, heavy fog in the Channel. Europe is now cut off from Britain. I have a personal personal story about how I currently feel about Brexit, and I think that is surprise at how little information people seem to have before they voted. There was no mention. I have a great interest in matters Irish. There was no question asked about there being a border, and potentially I hate to use the word, but the troubles that could be reintroduced because of a reintroduced border. There was no mention of Gibraltar and Spain. It's sad to me that people seem to vote that were so ill-informed about what was really happening. I'd like to add in closing that I can't help but wonder what the third strange political in the world will be, the strange political event. So far we've had Brexit and the shock of an unexpected presidential election and all that that brings. Since I firmly believe that things in life go in threes, I can't help but wonder what is the third, what is next, what is the final denouement.